Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum ji. Today I'm going to talk about language. Language is very important part of the culture, and language and culture are you can say part and parcel. They go side by side, and language is an integral part of the culture because it gives us expression. It is language are our words, how we describe. It's our thoughts, and we put our thoughts into action by using the language. So language is very important. If we talk about the definition of a language, language is a set of sounds, symbols, and it's the way we communicate. But I said language and culture are very important, and they are part and parcel. So if the language is lost or changed or modified, the culture is changed, modified, and lost. And if speakers of a language are lost, then the culture is lost as well. So this is the importance of the language. So therefore it's very important, and we can see many examples where the language has been changed or lost, and then that whole culture is totally lost, and or changed or modified. For example, a very good example that I can give is the way the Turkish language, it was previously written in Arabic manuscript. Now it's written in Roman manuscript. So just change from Arabic to Roman has changed the society, has changed the way they think now. Similarly, if we convert Urdu from Arabic manuscript or Rasmul Khat to a Roman Rasmul Khat, then whole of our traditions or our culture will be changed, and many of our traditions will be lost. So this is the importance of the language. I'm just giving an example. If only Rasmul Khat is changed, the manuscript is changed, the way it's written is changed, then how much big impact it has. And if the whole language is changed or language is lost, then you can see how devastating it is for the language, for the culture. And the languages are changed and modified as a result of colonization as well. Whenever there was colonization in the world, in any part of the world, the colonizers, they always forced their languages. They forced the languages on the local people. They forced the languages on the local community. And then the local languages were modified, changed, and even in some places they were lost. And the language of the colonizer became the dominant language, and language of the colonizer became the official language. So this has occurred in the past, and we can see again a couple of examples how they enforce. For example, in our regions of subcontinent, the language that was spoken widely was Farsi, Persian, Arabic, Urdu. But now we see we have, if we talk about Pakistan, we have only left with Urdu and English at the official level. So very few people who speak Persians, who speak Farsi. Many people doesn't know about it. Okay, so this is the impact, because we have been a colony of British, and therefore the British language is still very dominant. Even in our official languages at the government level, we still use English in our court, in our official languages, in all the official documentation that the government does. It's all in English. So this is the impact of it. And very important aspect is that language is personal. Language gives us expression, and if a language is lost, or if someone lost the ability to express in his or her own language, he in fact lost his expression. He in fact lost how to share his thoughts, because it's very difficult to share your thoughts or share your expression in someone else's language. Just imagine this, that you have to describe something and you can't describe it in your own words, in your own language, and you have to think of the words of a foreign language, of another language, to express. So how difficult it could be. So therefore it's very important, and many people argue that language is very personal because it gives us a personal expression, and if that personal expression is lost, how to communicate, how to express, and this expression is normally expressed in the native language in which we are familiar, in which we are comfortable to express. If that is lost, then it's a big question to be asked. It is a big difficulty. So therefore the language is very important for any culture, for any country, for the people, because it is something in which they express, they tell, they communicate, they talk, they debate. Okay, so coming again, moving further, if we talk about different concepts related with the language, there's a concept of mutual intelligibility. which says people of different languages, if they are able to understand, they are able to talk. So that is the mutual intelligibility. For example, people speaking Hindi and people speaking Urdu, they both can talk with each other. Yes, they both can communicate with each other, because Hindi, although it's a different language, and Urdu is all a different language, but people of both of the language of native speakers can communicate. So this is an example of mutual intelligibility. Yes, we can speak, but we can't read each other text, because Urdu is written in a different transcript or manuscript, and Hindi is written totally in a different. So yes, we can communicate, we can understand a couple of words, or in fact most of the words, but if we talk about reading, we can't read. If we talk about writing, we can't write. So that is the difference. But mutual intelligibility says that yes, people of different languages, they can speak to each other, they can talk with each other, and that is mutual intelligibility. And then similarly, there are many other examples of different languages we can find in the world. However, my focus will more be on our regional languages, or on our region, that how we can talk about it. Talking about again the language in the world, there are more than 5,000 to 6,000 languages in the world. According to estimate, there are almost around 5,000 to 6,000 languages in the world, and only 1,000 languages are spoken in Africa, and more than 600 languages in India only. So you see how big do we have the languages, diversity in terms of languages. And languages are normally describe, or on the global scale, they are divided into language families, just like we have division in biology. So as in biology we have families, we have subfamilies. Similarly, we divide the languages in that language families, language subfamilies, and the most important language is the Indo-European language, or its biggest language, because most of the speakers in the world belong to this language family. So which is the Indo-European language family. And within this further language family, we have different branches, like Romance branch, like Germanic branch, like Baltic, Baltic branch. Similarly, so the purpose is that there are language families, and then within the language families we have subfamilies, and then we have branches. And this is the tree of the language, and then all the language we talk about. So they move from a common language, and then they diverge and differentiate into different languages. Languages also have different dialects. The one we say it लहजा जिसे हम उर्दू में कहते हैं. So the variants of language along regional and ethnic lines, they are dialects, and different areas have different dialects. So there is a concept of an isogloss. Isogloss is a linguistic feature within a certain area. However, we can't mark that area, because now we can see different fuzzy isoglosses, which means that not a specific linguistic feature is not constrained to a certain area. Yes, it could be present in other areas as well, but when we talk about dialects, we can see differences in dialects. For example, people speaking Punjabi here in Lahore, they have a different dialect, and the Punjabi is a little bit different than the people speaking Punjabi in Faisalabad, or people speaking Punjabi in Sialkot. So we can see the diversity within the dialects. Similarly, people speaking Punjabi in Indian Punjab, so their dialect will be a little different. Their sounds of the language, of pronunciation of the words are different. So this is the difference that occurs due to the dialects, and that is again the most important component here is the spatial perspective. How far the people are distributed, how far they are scattered. So therefore the dialects get different. And more close the people are, the dialect is similar. More far they are, the dialects are different, or you can say changed. And within that, and again the geographers define when they talk about the dialects, they talk about the dialect chains. So they say that nearby are similar, and as far we move, so the mutual intelligibility decreases as we move forward. So these are dialect chains which geographers understand or study when we talk about dialects. But dialects are very, very important. So जिसे हम लहजे भी कहते हैं, तो लहजे बहुत important हैं, and again that are particular to a certain region. So I was talking about the language families, and so there are more than 20 major language families that we have in the world, and I already told you about the languages that we have in the world. They are around 5,000 to 6,000, with 600 in India and more than 1,000 in Africa. So how the language is formed? Language is formed, if we talk about the formation of languages, we can say a sound shift from one area to another area. For example, a single word, and if we move move from one place to another place, that simple word has a different sound. So a sound shift is the basic criteria. It's the basic how the language is being formed. So same thing which is pronounced something different in a different area, and that's how that different pronunciation leads towards a different sound, and that different sound makes, or it's the first step towards the language formation. So normally the languages have mutual you can say base, and then from that it differentiate. It moves again depending on the sound shift that occurs. And if we talk about again the people who study language or linguistics, they study backward reconstruction, they study deep reconstruction. These are the methods to see how the words are originated, how the language originate, and how the language move, or how the language in fact diverge. So there are different theories about how the language divergence occurs, and how the language is distributed, and how it is changed, how it is modified. However, that's again a complete science of studying languages, distribution of languages, and how the sounds are being formed, and how sounds differentiate, how the sound shift occurs. Okay, and now if we talk about on the global level, we have multilinguistic states where there are more than one language spoken. If we talk again about India, there again it's a multilinguistic state where there are many languages spoken in different states. Similarly, there are many European countries where we have multilinguistic. Even in USA now, there is again huge number of people rising who speak Spanish. And then again in certain states in USA, along with English, they are the official language. They have recognized Spanish as well. So that's another thing which is coming up on the global scale. Lingua franca is very, very important. Lingua franca is the language in which trade or commerce is done. So normally, or you can say the language, people speaking different language, when they communicate in one language. That is the lingua franca. And most, if we talk about currently, the English is, yes, the lingua franca of the world. English is the lingua franca that we use today. Commerce, trade, all trade and commerce communication globally is done through English. And in fact, if we talk about content on internet, English is still the largest, and we have the highest content on internet is on the English. And that's the global dominance of English, and the global dominance occurs have occurred of the English. So you can see how the English is at the moment is the language of the world, and it is very important. And then another last concept that I want to share is about the toponyms. So toponyms is a very, very important concept. It's about how the places are named, how the places are named by given any characteristics or having a certain origin. So the language is very, very important, because language gives names to places as well. So toponyms is basically how the place gets its name, origin. For example, if we talk about Lahore, different areas that we have. So we have a Lakshmi Chowk. So that Lakshmi, it tells us about Lakshmi. Then we have a Yatim Khana Chowk. So it tells us by the name of the place tells us about its history, tells us about its origin, tells us about how the place was named, because you know place has a meaning, place has a definite location, it has a definite position, but at the same time the place needs a name, and the name is given by the language. So the language gives name to the places. So therefore, if we talk about a certain place, it has a certain name. So that name is very important, and it has a history. So sometimes the name tells about the history, about the people, about the culture, and again it comes from the language. So that was again that how language is important. So if we wrap up and if we conclude, then I can again say at what I said in the beginning, language is part and parcel of the culture, and language is very important. So always we should respect our language, respect the regional languages, respect the local languages, and respect the national language as well. And because if the language survives, if the language prevails, the culture prevails. Thank you very much.